Well, welcome to the Business Spotlight series. My name is Heather Frierson, and I'm your host of the Business Spotlight podcast. And today I have Steve Bray, owner of Lone Star Lending. And he's going to be sharing all about his journey to business ownership, challenges, best practices, and really just share a sneak peek of what it's like to own and operate a business. So, if this is your first time to the show, don't forget to like and subscribe so that you don't miss a notification every time a new show drops, just like this one. Well, Steve, welcome to the show. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you, Heather. Appreciate it.
Now, do you go by Steve? Do you go by Steven? Or are you just get a little bit of everything?
A little bit of everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
My middle name is actually Steven. And so Steve or Steven, either one's usually what I get called.
You get about, yeah. I get a lot of times because our household is all full of H's with my name being Heather. I just answer to whatever H comes around. I know by the tone what they're saying. So, well, if you could just set the stage for us and give us a little bit of background about who you are and your business.
Sure. So Lone Star Lending is a mortgage company. We're a mortgage brokerage. My background actually, so my educational background, I actually was trained as an engineer, a petroleum engineer. Went to work for a big multinational petroleum company for about 10 years, but they trained me to write software. So I wrote
Hmm.
software for them for 10 years, then did my own thing for 5, 6, 7 years in the software industry again. When the tech crash happened at the beginning of the century, I bailed out of that and I got into mortgage because my wife actually had a mortgage company at the time. And she convinced me to come and work. She probably didn't like me sitting around being mopey looking for a job. So she convinced me to come work for her. And I ended up, she ended up going back to school. And as she likes to say it, I took over her company. So it wasn't that I founded a mortgage company. It was that I went to work for one who happened to be my wife's and enjoyed it. I enjoyed the part of it that was procedural. My forte has always been kind of logistics, operations, that kind of thing. That was really my strength when I was back in software. And so I kind of brought those talents to this company and found a place for it, found a niche.
I think that's actually so cool because I hear a lot of stories of how a lot of businesses are successful because there was a partnership. And
Mhm.
even though you're now taking it over and she's doing something else, there's still a partnership there, or at least a work together with what
Mhm.
you do. Can you kind of just dive into some of those dynamics?
You mean with respect to my wife or?
Of yes, and how that
Okay, no,
works.
I
And
just I
yeah,
just wasn't sure what you meant.
we want to be
Uh,
respectful of your wife for sure, but
no, 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 don't worry about it, don't worry. No, so so my wife was actually she originated all of the business when I started
Mhm.
working for her. I did all behind the scenes work for her, and, I mean, we worked great together. We actually worked in the same little bitty tiny office. So, I mean, you know, you gotta like somebody a lot to be able to spend
Yeah.
that many hours in a day with them. Um, she ended up going back to school not because we couldn't work together, but because she wanted to just go a different path.
Mhm.
And we still work together now because she's on the real estate side, and so we end up working with a lot of customers together. And we've separated our offices. I'm upstairs, she's downstairs now. So,
Yeah,
but
that works too.
yeah,
Yeah. So with everything, of course you're in real estate and there's a lot of things that go on with real estate these days and just the economy. How have you found navigating this season? How do you do that and implementing new
it's
strategies?
it's been a really tough one. Navigating it, if I was a solo entrepreneur, I was the only one that worked for myself. That actually, in my opinion, is a much easier place to be right now than being responsible for a group of people.
Mm,
I find that probably the most frustrating part of the current market because my guys and gals that work for me are having even more trouble than I am finding
mm,
customers. And yeah, I feel a responsibility to them. I brought them into this. I
yeah,
told them they could be successful, and right now they're not feeling successful at all.
mm,
So yeah, it's a very challenging market right now.
for sure. So it just leads me to kind of leadership. You're
Hmm.
leading this group and you feel responsible, which a lot of business owners do. Um, Tell me some of the things of how you motivate your team or to keep them with their eye on the prize, maybe.
Yeah, great question. So one thing that we've been trying, so I mean, I've tried multiple different
Yeah.
things. The latest thing I'm kind of trying to focus on with them is for them to reward themselves.
Mm.
So um, y- they need to feel, it's, I mean, I'm trying to get them to really break it down. It doesn't, your reward doesn't have to be because you just closed $1 million property. Your reward needs to be maybe because you actually did something that you said you were going to do.
Mm.
And so I'm really trying to get them to break it down, go back to basics, look at, what do you need to be doing to market yourself? What do you need to be doing to be out there so that when the market turns, you're visible. People know about you. People remember you.
Mm.
So that's really been the focus of our conversation the last, I guess, roughly month.
Yeah.
Is okay, guys. Break it down. Come back. What do you need to be doing? What do you want to be doing? And then how are you going to reward yourself? Just make yourself feel better because otherwise you just kind of sit there and you go, oh my gosh, I've been doing this all day and I've been doing this for the last 6 months and
Mm.
it's still not working. So
Yeah. I wish I remembered where I heard this story from, but it reminded me of a company years ago. I heard this on a podcast too, where there was a takeover
mhm.
of a CEO and came in and he said, right now your team needs small wins. We don't need the large wins. We need the small wins. They need to be motivated. And I think that's just brilliant of how you're leading that to say reward yourself. It's so important. Why is this business so fun for you and rewarding for you?
um, that's an interesting question, and it's actually one that people ask me a lot, because I'm not a natural fit. I'm not a salesy kind of guy. I mean, I'm really an engineer. My personality is an engineering personality, so I'm not into sales, but I love helping people. And
Hmm.
when I was in the tech industry, I discovered the last company I worked for was a little bitty startup, healthcare software startup, and the boss kind of he kind of annoyed the customers too often. And so I suggested to him that he let me take over the customer relationship department on top of my other responsibilities. And I really loved it. I mean, I really liked
Mm.
that part of it. Um, and I liked being the person that the customer, when they felt like they had no other recourse, they'd pick up the phone and they'd call me and express their frustration. You don't like hearing the frustrations, but you like finding a solution. I liked
Mhm.
finding those solutions for them. So that part of that job translated real well into what I'm doing now because I
Yeah.
love helping people. I just love seeing people, not only my employees, but my customers be
Mhm.
successful, get to where they wanted to be. I want this new house. I want this new life. Being able to get to that place. That's so cool for them. And then the other part of it, and probably the part that you know, gets me up more often than not is that I still so as I mentioned earlier, I'm really strong on operations.
Mm.
I also do a lot of I write all the software we use. Um, so yeah,
That's
I mean I've
amazing.
written all of our processing systems. I've had 25 years now to do it, so or
Yeah.
20 years to do it, whatever. But I still like doing that. I mean, I really like doing that. And my go back to the office in the evening is like I'll go back and I'll, write software for 2 or 3 hours. So that's,
Wow.
that's fun. That's the
Yeah.
fun part of my job that doesn't have any frustration to it. I'm
Mhm.
not worrying about, oh my gosh, am I going to be able to close this loan? I'm just like, okay, I'm going to knock out some software tonight.
I was actually gonna ask you how, if at all, have you bridged the gap or used your technology background to help you in your business now?
Right. And there's your
So
answer. Yeah.
there's my answer. So do you measure things like how with this current climate even have you built software that helps you measure like to keep client retention and measure your KPIs, all those things? Is that stuff that you get to do with that software?
We can, and to large so it's there, but to a large
Mhm.
extent, my loan officers don't do it. So, really, and
Yeah.
I've honestly found limited use to some of the statistics that I've looked
Mm.
at. Um, so my focus is with them is more getting them to just take a chance and do something. And yeah, I'd
Mm.
love for them to monitor the results of it, but if you're, if you're stepping out onto Facebook with a landing page for the first time you've ever done it, you know, looking to see the statistics on those 10 likes that you got,
Mhm.
probably not very meaningful. um, but the fact that they actually got out there, did it, and had 10 likes or had 150 impressions, or whatever it is, just seeing that, yeah, it did have an impact. That's kind of where I'm
Mhm.
trying to get them to. And again, for me personally, it, I haven't found that the information that I can get from the statistics, from the statistics that I can get off LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, all those, I
Yeah.
just haven't found any enough value to them to spend a lot of time worrying about them.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally get that side of it for sure. But it sounds like to me that you love team development. And I just want to share with our audience who's, like I said earlier, a lot of leaders and entrepreneurs. What have you found that has worked um, in training and developing team? You've been doing this for so long. You obviously have had success in developing team members. What are maybe some of your like one, two, threes that are a must when
Mm.
training a new team?
So, really good question. Um, what I've discovered, and I'm kind of sitting here thinking it through because I've never approached that question before. Um, Probably the biggest thing that I've noticed is, especially given our environment, my company's environment, um, is it's really easy for people to get overwhelmed.
Mm.
Not only does my company have a lot of software and a lot of tools they need to eventually learn, but the mortgage industry itself has a
Mm.
tremendous amount of you got to know stuff.
Yeah.
So try and I haven't always done this well. I'll be dead honest with you. It's like an evolving process. Each time I have somebody new come on, I try to tweak it a little bit, make it a little bit different. Because I've noticed I do all of my new loan officer training in person, and I'll typically
Mm.
go, and I usually go to wherever so we're a virtual company.
Oh, yeah.
I hire people all over the state of Texas, and I will
Wow.
go to them, and stay in a hotel, and I have them come basically for 2 days, and we just do 2 days of intensive training. Um,
Wow.
and what I've discovered is that it doesn't take very long for it to feel like a fire hose,
Mm.
and you can see their eyes glazing over. So, like I said, every time I do this again, I've been trying to figure out how do I break it. What do I really need them to know today?
Mhm.
What do they got to know? There's some basics. There's some regulatory stuff. That's the stuff they got to know right now. And then I've tried to really just teach them the basics of, um, how do you work with a customer to get to a point where they're going to work with you. I just call it the basics of loan origination. So it's
Mm.
not only integrating what our systems do, but it's integrating a little bit of customer relationship work. How do you anticipate just some basics on
Yeah.
somebody's contacting you. How do you convince them to want to work with you, and then what do you need to do? And then I spend less and less time now on all of the tools, because that's where I
Mhm.
really felt like I was just totally overwhelming them. I give them only the basics, and then I tell them, okay, sit back and watch. Don't try to absorb.
Mm.
All I want
Yeah.
you to do, I want you to be thinking, how am I going to get business? And as you see things, make notes. Oh, I want to find out more about this.
Mm.
Don't try to learn it because you're not going to remember it. It's just not going to happen. And then what we've developed internally is each week we do something called tool time on
I
Fridays.
love that.
And yeah, and it's an optional. They don't have to come, but I basically I ask them each week, what do you want to go over? We can go over a
Mm,
tool, we can go over origination, we go over one of our lenders' tools. I mean, we can go over whatever they want for an hour,
yeah.
and that way they can if they saw something, or if they heard me say
Mhm.
something in another meeting, or one of the other loan officers said I used this, they can go, hey, I want to find out a little bit more about how to use this. I remember you
Yeah.
talking about it, but I don't remember how you do it. And so 15-20 minutes we go over it real fast.
Yeah. I think that's so cool. First of all, just calling it tool time. For those of us that were in the 90s watching the sitcom, I love that.
Yeah.
But to provide that opportunity for your team to continue to connect, to learn, and to grow is so important.
Hmm.
How many team members do you have right now?
We are down to 8 right now.
Yeah, I'm sure it's flexes with things like this, is what I'm assuming.
It does, and I've been very intentional about when and why I've tried to grow,
Mm,
and so I added a number of team members about between 3 and 2 years ago. So,
yeah.
um, mm, it seemed like an appropriate time to add people, and
Hmm.
it was another kind of slow time right after COVID that allowed
Hmm.
me to bring people in anticipation of what I thought was gonna be a market
Yeah.
shift, and it didn't shift. But, bad interpretation on my part. But, anyway, since then, since the market really kind of really flattened out last year, I
Hmm.
intentionally decided to hold off adding people, and really, the reason for that isn't monetary. It goes back to what I was saying earlier. I have a responsibility.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I have a responsibility to people. If I bring them in and tell them they can be successful,
Hmm.
I'm really shortchanging them if I'm bringing them in because I'm trying to take advantage of an opportunity when there's a
Mm.
lot of people that don't have an employment, and just put them in a space waiting for when the market improves and I can take it. I mean, it just doesn't feel
Yeah.
right. So
Yeah. It's not good leadership for sure.
yeah, that's how it feels. I don't.
Yeah,
I mean,
I get that.
maybe it's better business. I don't know, but it just doesn't feel good to me. So.
Yeah, I get that. But you mentioned growth, and so w- when you look at growth opportunities for Lone Star, for even you personally and your team, what are your plans for growth
Mhm.
for the business?
So, once I see a reasonable improvement in the market, or at least one that I feel like I can predict, I'd really like to double the size of my team. And I probably won't go any farther than that. I'll probably, 15, 16 is probably the biggest I'd like to get, because and I'll caveat that on, if I ever came across loan officers that really wanted to be leaders as opposed to originators, because
Mm,
that's kind of where I am. I couldn't care less really about if I was originating loans. I like working with my loan officers, and I'd gladly spend every minute of every day helping them be successful and never originate another loan for the rest of my life. I wouldn't care.
mm,
If I ever came across somebody else like that that wanted to do that, that would give me the opportunity in my mind to, then double again, because then that person could. I don't think I can personally manage more than 15,
mm.
16
Yeah.
people and feel like I'm giving them what they need.
I love that what you said. I wrote it down, leaders versus originators. And that really speaks to your mission,
Mhm,
what you just said. S- So, how do you duplicate that even with maybe management to have the vision that you have and how you're doing it so that there is even growth opportunities that you don't have to do that piece
mhm,
alone.
mhm. Um, I honestly, I don't know. I think some of it's going to have to be intrinsic. So it's going to have to be. I don't want to take somebody that really likes working with customers and really likes sales and really like a real
Yeah.
people pleasing kind of person. I don't I don't know that that person's ever going to be appropriate to be a just. They can be a leader. I mean, they
Yeah.
absolutely can be a leader, but a
Gotcha.
leader and not doing that which is
Mm,
innate to them. Um, so I mean, possibility. I don't know. I'd have to see it in the person. See that. And then I'd have to have a really honest conversation with them and say,
Yeah.
You see what I do? I'm not here trying to make money closing loans. I'm trying to make all of you guys be successful.
Hmm.
And if that is now important to you, making other people be successful, then we can have a conversation about this. But
Yeah.
um, it's a real challenge, in my opinion. It's a real challenge, and I've there probably are people out there that do it well. I've never come across anybody that I think does, and I've never talked to any other loan officers that have worked for other people that think people do both sides really well. Um,
Mm.
most of the loan officers that I've interviewed over the past 5 6 years, the biggest complaint has always been that I went to work for somebody and they promised me they were going to help me and train me, and
Mm.
then all they did was originate loans on their own and just left me alone.
Mm. And it's your
Um,
goal not to do that, but to
yeah,
develop them. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Do you see Lone Star? I have two questions. Do you see Lone
Mhm.
Star? Where do you see it in like the next 10, 15 years? And then what is this opportunity for the past 20 years given to you personally?
So in next 10, 15 years, let's do the next 10 because I'm
Let's do that.
62 and I don't know 15 that I want to really be doing this. Um, honestly, I have an employee right now that I see her eventually probably taking on a lot of the responsibility that I'm doing. I would
Hmm.
I would personally like to get to the point where I don't have to deal with any of the day to day, and all I'm
Mm.
doing is working with my loan officers. Right now I'm juggling,
Mm.
taxes and reports and regulation. I mean, all that other stuff. If I could offload that stuff onto somebody that I could trust, and the other pieces that I deal with individual loans, that would be awesome. I mean, that's my
Yeah.
vision where I see myself going. Having her take that on, and then probably hiring a couple of people underneath her to support her. Um, and then, yeah, I mean, I'd like to stay with this, it probably at least another 10 years, but I'd like to stay on in a role where I'm helping other people be
Yeah.
successful, but really just focusing on that side of it. Um, that your second question, what it's given me. Um, it's given me an opportunity more than anything else.
Mm.
It's been an opportunity to it's a weird opportunity because it never was an aspirational opportunity. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
never would have ever seen myself being in the position I'm in right now. It's been a chance to be a businessman. It's been a chance to grow a business. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
it's the neat thing about this particular business is I get to do something that I enjoy doing for fun, and that is write
Yeah.
software. And actually get to do something that's meaningful and makes a contribution to other
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. I love that. I love that so much. Um, I had a question right when you said something, and now I'm like, what was that question? Don't you hate when that happens? Because you said
Yes.
something that sparked in something in me. So I'm just going to go another direction.
Okay.
I probably should have written it down. Um, oh, I know what it was because you were talking about just the long term and what it's afforded you. And I was just thinking about past challenges or any roadblocks because a lot of our listeners are in the middle of challenges and roadblocks and set aside the real estate market and all of that.
Mhm.
What are some challenges that you felt like you navigated well and or you were like, I learned so much and this is what people should do?
I I would say the absolute number one challenge for any small business, if you're going to be more than just a one person business, is finding the right people to hire.
Mm.
Absolutely. And I've made some good hires and I've made some bad hires. Um, Developing within yourself, and I would say two things to that. The first is very practical. Really sit down and figure out what it is you want, and not the silly canned questions you can find out on the internet somewhere. What do you want? What do you really
Mhm.
want in a person that's going to be part of your business, both in a productivity I mean, they got to be able to do the job. So you got to ask
Mm-hmm.
the right questions about that, obviously. But then how do they how do they match up with you and what your
Mm-hmm.
core beliefs are and what your mission statement is? I mean, can they align with that? And you got to ask questions that you know, any person that really wants a job, if they're worth their salt, they're going to have gone out and looked at your website. They're going to have read your mission statement. They're going to know exactly
Yeah.
what they need to say. So if you ask them, "Can you support this?" They're going to go, "Yeah." No, no, you gotta figure out what the questions are that you can ask, so you can figure out. Our mission statement's all about helping other people, and it has education as a component
Mm-hmm.
to it.
Mm-hmm.
So I ask questions around education and educating people and helping people to try to
Yeah.
figure out, does this person have a mindset that is similar to mine?
Yeah.
So that's, I mean, that's really, in my opinion, that is the most important thing. And if you shortchange yourself that, and I honestly have, and I've hired people that, it isn't that I so much regretted, I just wasted time, and I wasted their
Mm.
time too. Um, so that, I mean, I would say that is by far, you can find technology, you can find so many other things to shore up your business, but that's the one piece. If you screw that up, you will
Mm-hmm.
be miserable.
Yeah. How did you navigate that season where maybe you had to say this isn't relationship isn't working?
Mhm. The one that immediately comes to mind, it lasted about 6 months, and
Mm-hmm.
it was, and I mean, it was. I didn't force her out. I gave her the opportunity to leave on her own, and I didn't make her feel bad, but I think it was pretty clear to both of us within a couple of months that things weren't working. Now, if I
Mm-hmm.
were to do it again, I would have figured out a way to be more honest with both of us after that
Mm.
2 month period, so we didn't waste another 4 months.
That's a really
Um,
good advice to be more that's exactly what I was digging for with
mhm,
people listening is what really do we need to develop team members and say goodbye to those that we're blocking and
yeah,
blocking us.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was Darren Hardy that I listened to one time that I thought he just said it beautifully, that it's not just, if you look at it selfishly and just say, "I'm wasting my time, I'm wasting my money, whatever." You can look at it that way, but you can look at it more altruistically as well. And that was 4 months that she wasn't able to move on and maybe find something that actually would have lit
Mhm.
her up. And so I was
Yeah.
hurting her as well as hurting
Mm.
myself. And
It's good.
his point was, if you look at it from that standpoint, maybe you'll be honest and
Mhm.
actually have that honest conversation and say, "You know what, this just isn't working.
Yeah.
Don't you see it too?"
Yeah. I'd like that. If you had to think of a roadblock right now for your business, whether it's time, money, people, there's so many different things. What do you think in this current season of economic, all the things is a roadblock and how you're maybe thinking through with your team about strategies?
Um, I mean, the biggest roadblock for us right now really is just the state of the real estate market.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what we are doing. So what I'm encouraging my folks to do is to build relationships right now.
Mm, good.
Don't worry so much about getting getting business in today. I'm I've seen them do that for the last 9 months, and they're getting very, very frustrated. And so I'm really trying to encourage them, work on your relationships. You know where your business can come from. Go work on those relationships, because the market will turn. And if you've got those relationships strengthened,
Yeah.
I mean, part of the problem is, so the where we get more business than anywhere else is from real estate agents.
Yeah.
I read a statistic the other day that 72, 74%, something like that, of licensed real estate agents last year closed zero.
Mm.
So
Wow, that's rough.
yeah, that's really rough for them too. But
Yeah.
that means if you were relying on those people, you got no referrals too. So it's eventually going to turn for them. And what I want my folks to appreciate is, have that relation. Don't wait until it turns and then go start trying to make the relationships with it
Yeah.
when everybody else is doing it. have those relationships, and you also may be able to create some marketing opportunities with these people that don't
Yeah.
cost you money. Y'all can do stuff together, do some seminars or do some Facebook stuff together. You do stuff where
Yeah.
you can solidify that relationship, and then when things do take off, you're their go-to person.
Yeah. That is such wise advice. No matter what, job you're in, no matter what career you're in, to tell everybody what you just shared is to build relationships no matter what. Because if you're just looking at the sale, it's not always going to happen.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love that
absolutely.
so much. And I can hear all throughout our conversation of where your heart and your mission is really just team development and business leadership. And it's great to see someone like you in your seat that has been so successful that you really care about the people that you serve and work with.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Well, are you ready for some fun rapid fire questions?
Hit me.
All right, let's do this. Okay. What would you say is the key to success for you?
um, Sleep.
I would agree with that.
Honestly, that's probably the number one, actually getting sleep.
I've never heard anybody say that, but I agree. If I don't get my rest, I am no good the next day. It's so good. All right. What would you say if you could give one piece of advice to other leaders? What would you give them?
Um, Keep your focus on your people.
Mm, focus on people. I love that. All right. Book or podcast? What are you reading or listening to right now?
Um, I'm actually so the book that actually I can't remember the name of it. It's a book about Instagram.
Is it?
It's
Oh,
it's just
cool.
a cheap book I picked up off of one of the marketing people that I read periodically. He just
Mhm.
recommended it, and it's an easy, quick, short read. It's like 160 pages, and I'm 140 through it the other night. And
That's awesome.
anyway, that's what's on my desk at the moment.
I didn't even ask you about marketing, but do you guys use social media for any kind of marketing?
We do, but it's all on it's mainly on an individual basis. So the
Okay, yeah,
company does have some marketing stuff, but we don't try to we don't market as a company to feed the loan officers. We want them to develop their individual
makes sense.
personas.
Totally makes sense. Yeah. All right. This is the last rapid fire, but a really fun one. If you had a little bit of magic dust that you could
Hmm.
sprinkle anywhere in your business, where would you sprinkle it?
Oh wow. I would sprinkle it on the real estate agents that I currently do business with that actually would have customers come to them and want to buy a home.
Hmm. Yeah, that's nice of you. Still thinking of the other people.
It'll eventually trickle down to me, and I know they need it as badly as I do. So
That's true. That's true. Well, before we get to the last question of the day, share with the audience how they can find you, be a part of your team, all the things.
sure. So the probably the easiest way to find me is on LinkedIn. I'm G Stephen Bray, Stephen with a V. Um, and I mean, if somebody wants to join us, great. But also just reach out. I'd love to hear from some people. I'd love to hear what anybody thinks. If anybody has any thoughts about what I said,
Awesome.
contrary thoughts, I'd love to hear contrary as well. Our website is lonestarlending.com, and that's just got good information about us and what we do. So if anybody just wants to see what we do and who we are, that's the place to go.
Awesome. Well, and if you are listening and you reach out to Steve on LinkedIn, make sure you tell him that you heard him on our podcast today
Oh,
for sure.
absolutely, yes.
Okay, final question of the day. What is most inspiring you today?
Inspiring me today. So I'm gonna give you something fruity. The most inspiring thing actually for this whole week has been the absolutely beautiful weather. We've got beautiful spring weather right now in
Yeah.
Texas, and it's just seeing the sunshine and feeling the warm breezes. I mean, it just like it makes everything feel better.
Yeah, you're right. You're right about that. I've enjoyed it too so much. So it makes your background even makes sense even more.
Well, the background actually is it's Lake Almanor in California. It's where my
Mm,
wife parents used to have a house, and
Wow.
it's an easy, good background. And she threw it to me today because like I said, didn't want to show the house behind me.
Well, it looks great and
I
it's a
work
lot
from
of
home
fun.
most of the time, so
It looks great. I love it. And I love this
thank you.
conversation and really just hearing your heart for leadership and team development. It's been really inspiring. So I just want to encourage everyone that's listening to really save the show because Steve really had some great nuggets of wisdom about how to care for your people and to develop teams. So also, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe so that you get a notification every time a new show drops, just like this one. Thanks to everyone who joined us today, but a special thank you to you, Steve. It was such a pleasure and honor to speak with you today.
Thank you, Heather. I appreciate the opportunity.
You're welcome. We'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.
Bye bye.